Okay, let's bring Brown County Housing Authority to order. We recorded that Nicholson, Goddard, Dietrich, or is it Dietrich? Can never remember, Tom.
D-I-E-D-A. Spelled wrong on everything.
Okay, how do you pronounce it? Dietrich. Hartman, Fenner are present. Okay, approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes from November 20th, 2017 meeting of the Brown County Housing Authority. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Goddard, second by Hartman, under discussion.
Just a minor detail. My name is misspelled. It's D-I-E-D.
Thank you.
It's
Sorry.
on our
R-I-C-K.
Yeah.
Dietrich.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good German name. I is E, E I is I, yes.
point well taken. Corrections will be made, I believe. Okay, communications. Do we have any communications?
No.
No communications. Go to reports. Report of the Housing Choice Voucher Rental Assistance Program. Should we just take A through H?
Sure.
Okay, lead it off.
For November, we collected 102 preliminary applications. We had a unit count of 3,028 with an associated housing assistance payment expense of $1,366,787. For November, we conducted 393 total inspections, of which 206 passed the initial inspection, 69 passed a reevaluation, 86 failed, and 32 resulted in a no-show. The next one is the colorful handout that is on at your station. So the yellow, sorry, it's smaller and smaller each month. I apologize for that.
Yeah, what's with that? We
It's
got old eyes
a whole
here.
year. It's a whole year.
Old eyes.
So the last column, or the second to last column for November, there were 364 port-outs with an associated housing assistance payment expense of $324,996. As an organization, administratively, ICS was underspent by $1,345.15. The Family Self-Sufficiency Program was overspent by $5.71. For the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, there are 79 active clients, of which 45 are in Level 1, 16 are in Level 2, 11 in Level 3, 7 in Level 4. We had 0 new contracts in November, 0 graduates in November. Currently, there are 42 active escrow accounts and 50 homeownership clients. So recently, just a small success story. This year, we with the life skill that we always offer in December is a family holiday party for clients that are participating in the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. So this year we had over 30 attendees. They did cookie decorating, ornament decorating, they had snacks, and they played a movie. This kind of ties into the last quarter of the year that we spent focusing on family, parenting. October was parenting, November was a family retreat that we hosted, and then December was the fun activity for the families. So it was well received, and we're really looking forward to what 2018 has in store for the program. For VASH, there were 3 new VASH clients, grand total of 28 active VASH participants. For Langen & Associates, there were no new investigations assigned, no investigations closed, 15 remain active. There was 1 new application that was processed, which was approved. And then the next one is just the breakdown by municipality. The only application that was approved was within Green Bay. That's it.
Okay, any questions or concerns? If not, entertain a motion to receive and place on file. Motion by Dietrich, second by Hartman, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving forward, new business. No, old business. There is no old business, correct?
Correct.
New business. Number 3, consideration of possible action to award project-based vouchers to Neighborhood Works, Green Bay Ecumenical Partnership for Housing. Director Hallett.
Okay, so as you recall, a few months ago, I believe it was October, you approved for the staff to publish a request for proposals for the project-based vouchers. And we did receive 2 proposals, as anticipated. Both NeighborWorks and Ecumenical Partnership for Housing are interested in project-basing some of their units. We had a selection committee that reviewed the proposals. So the selection committee graded them and, or ranked them, I should say. And I should explain up front that although it's considered a competitive process, we are not limited to choosing just one. We could choose one, both, or neither. So to start with NeighborWorks. NeighborWorks does currently have 122 units that are under project-based vouchers, and they submitted a proposal requesting to eliminate 16 of those that are currently under project-based and add 53 more. The proposal committee reviewed this, and essentially we would make the recommendation that all of the existing ones that NeighborWorks is proposing be approved. But then of the new ones that NeighborWorks is proposing, that we only move forward with project basing those that are not in high poverty areas. So that came to 18 of the new units that NeighborWorks proposed.
Okay, I'm confused, Robin. So does that mean that, what about this, they want to take away 16? Is that part of the proposal that's been accepted?
Well,
I don't understand what this, they said they want to take away 16 of the project-based vouchers that they had and then add 53 more.
right.
So are you proposing that we accept the idea that they get rid
Right.
of 16, but then we only add 18 more?
Correct.
Aha,
Yes.
okay.
So as you know, one of the benefits of project basing vouchers is that it provides us an opportunity to really work on deconcentrating by selecting where those vouchers are being used. So our selection committee, that was most of our discussion when we looked at which of the units to approve, or to recommend for approval, I should say. Now, when I discussed this with Noel, and both Noel and Scott from NeighborWorks are here, they countered back with an idea that they're proposing new project-based vouchers in 2 housing complexes. One is on Webster. Well, if you look at the
Yeah,
pages after
yeah.
the cover sheet,
Yeah.
there's this spreadsheet with
Okay.
various colors. So these are all NeighborWorks units. So they proposed some units, page 4 and 5 of those spreadsheets, on Webster, 410 Webster, and as well on Lincoln and Phoebe. Lincoln and Phoebe it's a corner lot, so those, even though it's 3 units, 2 different street addresses, it's one complex.
Oh.
So NeighborWorks countered back that although we are proposing that those units not be project-based, they countered back requesting that some of the units in each of those apartment complexes be project-based. So that's one topic for discussion. Before we maybe jump into that discussion, a few more things to talk about. They have several units of the new ones that are being proposed that already have tenant-based voucher, tenant-based voucher holders living there. And we would not be able to project-base those unless the tenant agreed to relinquish their tenant-based voucher. So that's an area where we would still need to talk to those tenants there and see if they're willing to do that. So the exact number of units may vary slightly depending on whether or not those tenants are willing to give up their tenant-based voucher. So Cheryl, I don't know if you have anything you want to add or if we want to open this for discussion on this at this point.
I mean, I think when we met as a committee, Courtney as well, I mean, this is a great opportunity for us to maybe get these units outside of these downtown areas of Green Bay, preferably even in the county. I mean, something we've been talking about, deconcentrating, if we could encourage these folks to, do, even get them in different municipalities. This would be a good opportunity for us to actually do some deconcentration.
Cheryl, where is Phoebe Street or
Maybe on the northwest side.
northwest side?
Yep,
And then Lincoln is,
kind of in the same area. Is it north of Mather?
It's north of Velp Avenue, up to almost to the rail yards, kind of that go under I-43 up there.
okay.
Oh, way up there, oh, okay.
And what's the difference between project-based and tenant-based?
Well, tenant-based is the bulk of the Housing Choice Voucher Program.
Right.
That's what most of the tenants are using.
Right.
Project-based is specifically that voucher that we're giving would stay on that particular unit or within that particular project.
On the address?
Mhm.
Like just right at the address?
Yes, correct.
So if those tenants move, they don't take
Okay.
that benefit with them, it stays with them.
Okay, but then, so then anybody that wants that unit has to be approved for a.
Correct.
Okay, got it,
But
got
those
it.
couldn't be ported out, right?
Typically, no, the project-based vouchers cannot be ported out. However, part of the regulations is that once a tenant has lived in a project-based unit for at least a year, if they wanted to move, and if we have vouchers available, we could give them a tenant-based voucher. Then, as you all know, those tenant-based vouchers are portable, so then they could take that tenant-based voucher to port out.
Any questions or concerns? If not, you want the floor open?
Yeah, I think that
I'll
would be.
entertain a motion to open the floor for
You want to talk about the
instance.
other piece of the proposal is that it's split, I mean, it's these guys, NeighborWorks
And
and
Ecumenical.
Ecumenical Partnership.
Sure.
Why don't we do that, then you can
Either
open
way.
the floor once, ecumenical
I'm sorry, I
partnership for
didn't,
housing.
what, Courtney?
So
There's
the,
two proposals.
the proposal coming forward is that it's split between NeighborWorks and Ecumenical
Mhm.
Partnership for Housing. They've both submitted proposals.
Right.
And the committee is recommending that we work with both.
So before opening the floor, maybe talk about
Okay.
Ecumenical Partnership for Housing's proposal. So they are proposing a total of 12 units to be project-based. These would all be single-family homes or duplexes. Currently, EPH owns a number of these properties.
ETH is,
Ecumenical Partnership for Housing.
okay.
And they are proposing that 4 of the units that they currently own be project-based, and then 8 future units, because they are in the process of doing a capital campaign to purchase more units, so they don't yet know where those units would be located. They're not yet, I mean, they're existing, but they haven't yet identified where those properties would be. So 8 future units would be project-based. And the selection committee's proposal is that the 4 units that they currently own and are proposing could be approved. And the 8 future units, we would restrict to just be in lower poverty areas. So, we have a chart that was included in the RFP that indicated very high poverty, neutral, low poverty, and very low poverty. So we would require it to be neutral or lower poverty.
So that would mean that if the units wind up being in high poverty areas, we would not give a project-based voucher.
Correct.
We could still give them a voucher, they could still get a tenant voucher?
True,
Or-
the tenant.
The tenant
yes.
could get the voucher, but they could, okay,
Right.
all right, just checking.
Yeah, good question.
I thought 4 would have been project-based?
We wanted more.
They currently own 4 units that they are.
Oh, currently they own 4.
Yes.
They want
They want to
to add,
add more, but they don't know where they are yet because they
They-
bought them.
they bought them?
They haven't bought them yet, so they don't know where they're going to be. So their proposal, tell me if I'm wrong, is that we're happy to look at project-based vouchers, but if they buy units that are all in high poverty areas, we won't give them a project-based voucher. They can only get a project-based voucher if the unit they buy is in a low poverty area rather than high. Is that right?
You got it right.
Oh, did that make any sense?
What's a
to you?
dollar amount? I mean, what determines low and,
Oh, it's based on the percentage of people in that census tract that are in poverty. So it needs to be based, HUD requires that it be based on the 2015 census data. So we
poverty's
put,
what, underneath 19,000 for income?
I don't know.
18?
I think it's higher than that. I don't.
That's for, is it based per
Down.
person or like for family?
I think it's based on a family, yeah. It wasn't looking at the dollar amounts, it was looking at census data that indicates, which census tract, what the poverty rate of different census tracts are. We didn't look at the dollar amounts when determining that.
Okay, what's the statistics then? What is that?
I can pull up the.
I was just
map
curious,
if
I mean,
you'd like.
how do they
Pull up the map.
determine?
Okay.
How does the census determine what's low and the other level?
While Robin looks for that, I was, in the interest of transparency, I'll share that I've served on the board of EPH.
Oh, okay.
Pardon?
I have served on the board of EPH. Just
Okay.
put that out there, to be transparent.
Good.
It's served as a keyword.
Served, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not serving now, but I have served in the past.
Okay, well, what determines it then?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Would you know, Cordy?
No, I don't.
Okay, well,
No, Ecumenical Partnership for Housing buys units they can afford that are worth buying.
Right.
And they work with individual families. And
how do they determine, like, okay, this neighborhood is,
So EPH wouldn't do that. They would
Just the government part.
defer to the government, yeah.
okay.
So here's the map that was put together based on which census tracts are in high poverty areas. I can zoom in.
Okay, what does red mean? High
So
or
the
low?
darkest red is the highest poverty.
Okay.
The orange is still high,
But not as.
but not as high. And if you'd like, I'm gonna scroll down here.
Yes, that's
Here
fine.
is the legend over here.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay, so the high poverty,
28
okay.
Yeah, that's the percentage of people in that census tract that are considered in poverty.
Okay.
So neutral is yellow, dark green is low
Low.
poverty, and light
Light
green
green
is
is-
very low poverty.
Okay. Okay.
So essentially, anything outside of Green Bay would be considered neutral or better.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a few areas within Green Bay that are neutral, or even
A few that are.
low poverty.
Mhm.
So is that, the dark areas, the two darkest colors, is that all Green Bay?
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
nothing outside Green Bay, so it's gonna be all concentrated in Green Bay
Right.
then?
No, all the project base would be outside of Green Bay,
Yeah,
we want to
they're-
stay
they're
out of the
proposing-
poverty areas.
They're proposing that they wouldn't give a project-based voucher to any project that was in those dark areas.
This whole
Okay.
deal lets us spread it
It'll
out.
be all through here then?
Right,
Okay, it's the
right.
opposite what I was asking.
Correct.
Okay.
Except, remember when I explained initially that with NeighborWorks units, they have many units that are already project-based, that they have, after this proposal, continue to be project-based, and our selection committee is proposing that all of those units continue to be project-based, so as not to affect, detrimentally affect the tenants who are living there now.
But we don't.
Also, you're grandfathering those tenants in, so to speak.
Thank you.
So the guys that are already in a project-based unit that is in that is in a high poverty area, they're not gonna get thrown out because the unit's in a high poverty area, is that right? So they'll keep those units. So the ones that are already in high poverty areas,
I understand
Stay
that, yeah.
but they don't get to put any new ones in a high poverty area. Or they don't get to add more to a high poverty area.
Right, that's what we're proposing. When we open the floor, Noel may wish to speak about that.
Okay. What do the numbers stand for, like 20.04?
Those are the census tract numbers.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Any other questions for Robin or Cheryl or ICS? If not, entertain a motion to open up floor for interested parties.
So moved.
Second by Goddard, second by Dietrich. Under discussion here, none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. The floor is now open. Just raise your hand. I'll recognize you.
Noel Halverson, NeighborWorks Green Bay. Thank you to the committee and the authority for considering this proposal. I think the action as recommended is fundamentally a sound and appropriate one. I do want to just clarify my understanding of the committee's recommendations, because I don't think you mentioned it specifically, Robin, is that, so we were proposing to remove some properties from project-based vouchers that are currently, they're single-family homes or duplexes that we own in the neighborhoods. Our goal is to sell those to either the tenants that are occupying them or to new owner occupants.
And those are in the high poverty areas.
And some of those are in high poverty areas, and we want to remove those, and we're going to sell those properties and get families owning those homes. We did propose to put some new units in. The committee is recommending a mix of yes and no's to that, and I understand the logic for doing that. But there was a caveat too, where in the notes I saw, the committee was saying for those, I think 35 units that weren't recommended for approval, that the committee is recommending to the authority that you grant to us the opportunity to bring 35 units in the future outside of the central area that's got the high poverty rates. And that, so if we found a fourplex in De Pere or something like that in the future, we could bring that forward and work with staff and have those units covered with project-based vouchers. And we support that and think that's a great idea and would love to work with the authority to find some other housing options for families of modest means outside of the central city of Green Bay. So we're eager to work with you on that. The only other point I raised, two other points would be, one is that you consider in your approval that if there are, in a building where you're recommending to project base it, if there's a tenant in there currently with a tenant-based voucher and they decline to convert that, I know this is kind of technical, if they decline to convert that to a project-based voucher, that we don't lose that slot, and so that maybe when they move out, we can then make it a project-based unit, similar to the adding ones in the future, even though those might be inside the other tracks, just because they weren't able to go in at the beginning, or to become floaters in some fashion, and I think that would be a reasonable accommodation for that change. The only other thing, too, I did ask you just to consider, and I certainly value the partnership and not saying that this is a mistake on your part not to cover it, but one of the buildings in the proposal that we put in, 410 South Webster, is 8 one-bedroom apartments, extremely low-income tenants in that building, and we're asking you to consider maybe granting 3 vouchers to that, and they could be floaters to be used in that building to help maintain affordability for somebody in there, as well as that Northland Pines property, that Phoebe and Lincoln, that's 16 units, 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom apartments, mostly 1-bedroom and a couple of 2-bedroom apartments. And again, some very low-income tenants there. Not asking, given the committee's recommendation, for you to reconsider and cover the whole 16-unit complex, but if you could see your way to providing 4 floating vouchers at that property, I think that would really help some of those families and those households maintain affordability. So
4 of those 16 at any one time would be
project-based.
But that the specific 4 might change.
They could float within the property. I understand that that's a permit under the program. Those, and the way you're looking at doing this, if I understand correctly, would be a separate contract for every property or every non-contiguous property under consideration, so that one could be written up differently than, say, another one to say, okay, 4 of these 16 units are going to be floating, whereas at the other properties, this duplex, for example, both of those units would be fixed. Okay. And that's all I really got to say. I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody's got any about the real estate or the project proposal.
Yeah, we're at 410 South Webster. That's not the corner house, is it the next one down? or the
It's
next one down?
just south of the corner at Crooks and Webster.
Right, so it's not the corner house.
It's a square brick building.
Yes, okay, thank you.
So that would be a new unit.
That's a property that we acquired earlier this year.
Okay.
And had done some renovation, replaced some windows, done some kitchen work on there, and trying to fix it up. And like I said, there's some really low-income household, individuals living in that building, basically, so.
Okay, question now. Robin, you stated that there's going to be 4 projects that are going to be taken off, or 16 and 18 will be placed back on.
Right, with NeighborWorks proposals, out of the 122 that are currently project-based, they are proposing to remove 16 of those.
Okay.
So those are properties that Noel explained they're looking to sell, not have in their portfolio, so they
Okay.
don't need project-based vouchers on those.
Okay, now, right now, Noel, does your organization, do they pay property tax at all on?
Some of our units, we've got a payment in lieu of taxes
Right.
that we're paying, and others we do not. They're real estate tax exempt.
Okay, then the 18 units, or the 16 that are going to be sold off, that you're going to try to sell off, will that be
Those
back
will
on
all go back on the property tax
tax?
rolls.
So then 18 will be basically taken off then?
Those are already either off the tax rolls, or we're paying a pilot on those properties because they're new ones that we've
Okay.
done in conjunction with the city.
Which ones of those are you paying a pilot on? Do you know out of the 18? Half, more than half?
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right.
But again, when we do fix up a property and sell it, we may have it off the tax rolls for a short time, but we're typically doubling the value, assessed value of that property when we fix it up and sell it.
Right.
So these homes will be going back on the tax rolls at a higher value than when we took them off, and putting that money back into the community chest through taxes down the road.
Do you know like a dollar amount that, like on your turnover? Do you have an example for any of the properties that you sold and it came back?
Well,
One
what
in
about,
South Jackson?
what about 709 James,
That's
708 James? What did we buy that for?
That was a HUD foreclosure, we bought that for $32,000.
And it was probably assessed at somewhere in that neighborhood?
In the 40s or 50s.
So we bought a house, a year or so ago, a year and a half ago, it was assessed about $40,000. That house just sold for, so more than double.
For what?
90,000.
90, okay.
More than double the assessed value of the property.
And I'm sorry, no, where was that at?
I was on James Street.
James?
James, yeah.
Where is that?
On the northwest side.
Northwest.
Okay. Okay.
Was it bought by the tenant?
No, that one was we found a buyer in the market to
Oh,
purchase
okay.
that home.
And then what
Yeah,
are they
so
doing?
it's-
Just
They're limiting
renting
it. No, it's
Live
their
there,
home,
living
yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions? Do you have anything else, Noel?
No, just thank you for the opportunity to be your partner.
So can I just clarify this from my mind? So right now you have 122. You're going to remove 16, so you'll have 106 in your pool, right? But you'd like to add 7 back. These, the 7 you just mentioned now, the 3 and the 4?
No, I think the committee's recommendation is what was the total number your committee's recommending?
18?
16 minus.
Yeah, it was 122 existing covered minus the 16 plus 18 that the committee's recommending to get us to
Oh,
a net
okay.
124,
Yeah.
I think is the committee's
Okay.
recommendation, with the addition of up to 35 additional vouchers awarded now that could be available to us if we propose development
Correct.
outside the high poverty tracts.
So really, and when it's all said and done, you're adding 2 additional,
Right.
you're asking for 2 more.
I'm just asking for...
Right now, today, for 2 more, which will add to the existing pool, and then our future ones.
No, I'm asking for 7 more.
I'm looking at your net. Like, I'm just looking at, you're
Oh,
at 122,
yeah.
now you'll be at 124.
And I'm sorry, I didn't think of it that
so-
way, we looked at the portfolio in
Right.
terms of what we wanted to apply for, and we
Okay.
hadn't even thought about the ones we were...
I was just thinking like they're netting, they're plussing 2 really from what they have now, which is the 122.
Right, today.
Today. And then you'd like us to obligate 35 based on them being located outside of those high poverty
Right,
areas.
along with any of the tenant vouchers that don't convert of the ones that are being approved today.
Okay.
And please consider those 7 units, 3 at Webster and 4 at VB and Lincoln.
35 additional.
35 that aren't, yeah.
If
That would be.
they're outside,
If they're
Right,
outside.
not new, not developed today.
right, but we don't know if it's gonna be outside the city of Green Bay.
That's correct.
They might
They
still
would
be
be
in
just
Green Bay.
outside
They could
of
be
the
all
high
in
poverty
Green Bay.
tracks.
Right, but they wouldn't be in the high poverty areas of Green Bay.
No, they could be all in Green Bay, right?
They could
Additional?
could conceivably be, but that's, we're looking regionally for opportunities right now. So we wouldn't be shopping just in Green Bay. We would be looking for Howard, we'd be looking for De Pere, we'd be looking in
Okay.
Ashwaubenon.
Okay.
As well as Green Bay, so.
Okay.
And that was the committee's recommendation.
Okay,
Try to
who's on the
do
committee, Cheryl?
Committee was made up of
Stephanie, Cheryl, myself, Corday,
and Bill Papp.
and Bill Pappy.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other concerns or nobody else from, sir?
Dave Pete and Paul, Ecumenical Partnership for Housing. I just want to echo Noel's comments that I really appreciate the opportunity to apply for the project-based vouchers. I'm a big advocate for vouchers because I think they're just a terrific, terrific tool for helping families return to self-sufficiency and to be able to have affordable housing, productive citizens within our community. So happy to take any questions, but thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the gentleman? If not, entertain a motion. Entertain a motion to bring it back to regular order of business.
Moved.
By Goddard, seconded by
Second.
Fenner.
Oh,
Any
Fenner.
discussion?
Okay.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're in regular order of business. What are the wishes of the committee, or concerns, or questions?
Well, I think the biggest, I guess the point outside of what our committee looked at that is still up for debate is whether or not this authority would like to approve Noel's request to project base a few units in the Webster complex and a few in the Phoebe Lincoln property.
I guess my concern is, I would support that, but the additional 35, I have reservations with. That's what you're requesting, Noel, an additional 35, because.
That was actually the committee's recommendation, that I support.
Right, I understand, but I do not support that. It's just that I don't know where these are gonna be.
Right.
And it usually, majority of the time, falls back into the city of Green Bay. And when I brought this forward years ago for deconcentration, it's basically, my arguments were outside of the city limits, not spread it through the city,
I would be willing to.
because it's Brown County.
I'd be willing to take that as a requirement, if you wanted to make those 35
So the
outside
35
the city
additionals,
proper.
if you support the 35, not one would be in the city of Green Bay. Okay, that's a good compromise. I guess those are my concerns, Noel.
It's fair.
Can I ask, just for my own understanding?
Sure.
What is your concern with a unit that is not, let's say it's looking on the map, zone 14. That's considered a low poverty area, but that's still in
Esther
Green
Park.
Bay.
It's
That's
pardon?
Esther Park. That's Esther Park.
So that's part of Green Bay, but it's low poverty. So what, I'm just, so I can understand your perspective, what is your concern with having
My
project-based
concern when I
vouchers
brought
there?
this forward, when Pamprin was our director, is that we have too much concentration where the dark colors are. When I proposed this years ago, it was over 10 years ago, deconcentration outside city of Green Bay with this, instead of just adding or spreading it to Green Bay. I always felt, and I remember, Tom, you were on the board at the time, it was accepted and favorably that was the idea, and that was our, the path we were gonna take.
Okay. And I'm not,
That's all.
I'm not
I think we
opposed to
should
it. I'm
all
just
share, just
wondering
because the
what
city of Green Bay has the
underlying
services
rationale
and the
for
population and everything, I still think that everybody should have a fair share if we're gonna call it Brown County.
Some should be in Bellevue, and some should be in De Pere.
I guess that was my argument. Cheryl, you were around.
I agree with you. I don't, and then they certainly don't have an issue with them being outside of the city. I think that's a great opportunity to.
That'd be great.
Unless Eric wants to help Noel put everything in Astor Park, but,
District 4 is open.
but I'm just making it funny on that. But no, I mean, basically getting back to business, that was my concern, Robin, and that was my, I believe, the communication or the information I provided to the Brown County Housing Authority. If we could spread what is in the city of Green Bay throughout the whole county, to reduce the population in Green Bay and share it with everybody else. I guess that was my argument, that was my concern. So, any other questions or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, well, I have a question.
Ian
Okay,
Hartman?
yes, okay, so Noel said that he would be willing to use, to say these extra 35 that he's looking for, to have them required to be outside the city of Green Bay. Does that mean he has to make a amendment, or can we impose that on him? How do we change that?
Okay, first of all, I currently have an email to Corporation Counsel to find out how we can do it. If we would have to put out another RFP, or if we can simply amend the RFP that's already been closed. So what legal mechanism we can do that? Aside from that, our committee had the discussion of, as long as those units are outside of the boundaries that you determine, which now through this discussion, we're saying outside of the city of Green Bay, that the staff would then have the authority to, go ahead and put those on the contract. We would make sure that they are outside of the city, meeting, the requirement that you're setting forth here, and making sure it meets all other requirements for the project-based vouchers. But if you're not comfortable with that and you want that to be brought back each and every time, that's your prerogative.
I guess I'd like to see what legal has to say on that before we move forward, because if we move forward and we get in some sticky situation, then we just gotta start backpedaling. I wouldn't like that.
Yeah, I guess what I was trying to say,
I'd rather
that
be more
regardless
cautious.
of which avenue legal says we have to go with it, that you would grant approval for staff to be able to approve them.
Say that again, Robin?
That regardless of which avenue legal says, whether legal says we have to do an RFP again, well, I guess now thinking through that, an RFP generally we do bring to this committee before publishing it.
Well, but the RFP went out, so there's the existing ones and there's the new ones, right? So I would think there'd be no issue if this committee wanted to approve at least continuing with the existing project-based vouchers, right? So really the question is whether or not we can put that rider on that says they have to be outside of the city of Green Bay.
And the authority could certainly take that action.
And I was going to say, you could make the motion saying contingent on approval from legal. The motion would be to approve these 35 as long as they're located outside of the city of Green Bay. And then that way, these guys will have the ability to purchase property knowing that they've got a voucher as long as it's not in the city of Green Bay. Otherwise, they're kind of speculating at that point.
Are you?
I would still like to have legal, I don't want to continue.
Yeah.
Could you make a motion, though, because isn't the contract up?
Contract expires-
The contract for the
current
existing
contract
ones at
expires.
least are up, I think, correct? And the end of this year?
That's correct.
So, at least to continue with the existing ones and then bring the new ones back?
When you say new ones, the eliminating.
Yeah, 35.
The 35 that
The
they'd like to
35.
add.
Okay, so what you're saying, Cheryl, that's what I'm understanding. If we could just approve the ones that are existing right now, and then have you go to council and say, what do we have to do? And then that would come back to us so that we would know.
Correct.
So
Right.
before so that we would know that we can either do a rider or that it has to be a new RFP, it would still come back to us first?
Correct.
Does that make you happy?
Well, okay, no, I didn't know the contracts were up. How come this wasn't, what was it, this new business wasn't last month? Why?
Just the timing of things.
I know, but I don't like to be pushed into, can't we just postpone it? I mean, just, okay, what happens if the contracts are up? I mean,
Everybody loses their voucher?
so we wait till,
I don't think there's.
13 days before the year is up, before we...
You started this process several months ago, I think, so.
Well, I understand that, but when it comes to us, we have 13 days?
Well, again, from my perspective, looking at where you're at right now, I think you could vote to what you support and let the due diligence, fall to council and get their opinion and modify anything later. But in terms of approving the committee's recommendation for the vouchers as put before you, I think the 122 units right now, or is it 124 units? The 124 units net, plus maybe the 7 I'm asking for that you reconsider the committee's no vote on, you guys have done your legwork on it. Make that approval, and then there's no hiccup in the process at all for any of the covered
But the
units.
7 isn't not even on the agenda, is it?
Well, sure it is, because it's part of the committee's action and recommendation to you. I'm just asking you guys, as an
Where is
authority,
it?
to consider making a modification to the committee's recommendation.
And it's not on what you're looking at, because that was a discussion that Noel and I had after that was printed.
So that 7 is not on the agenda. It's just...
But it's still
Sure it is, it's the
around.
action
Just
recommending.
one, hang on. Robin?
It is, they are units that Noel NeighborWorks originally proposed. They are on this spreadsheet.
Okay,
So they were within the original proposal.
okay.
They are on the
Our
agenda.
selection committee originally,
But it's on the
decided-
agenda then?
Yes.
Right,
I would say yes.
yes.
Item number 3, right?
Part of the
So it's
proposal.
on,
Okay,
it's these
we're-
ones. It's these ones here on Webster. They want to put 3.
Okay, these are the
they want-
7.
Yeah, they want to do, no, not all of them. 3 in here, and then 4, is that right?
Okay.
And then 4 down here. on Peavy's.
Okay, all right.
So they want to put 3 units, is that right? 3
Yep.
units in Webster?
3 on Webster, 4 at Phoebe and
Okay, so it is on the agenda. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Oh, I had it backwards, okay.
Well, it is a little confusing.
Yes, this whole thing is just a mess.
Well, I like things clean. I don't like messes. I mean, we're all professionals here, and we make a proposal. I mean, I'd
Andy,
like
what
to
would-
have it nice and, excuse me, Robin, but I'd like to have things clean so it's easy for us. That's all. You know?
Okay, and I tried my best to do that, but
I know.
I
I'm
would like
just
the
saying, I
committee
wish-
to understand this is a moving target. It's something we're continuously working on, and not everything is tied up in a neat little bow, 3 days before the meeting.
Well, for consideration, we have 13 days to make a decision, and we're pressured into something. I wish something would have been to us so we could have been making a clean decision, and, that's all. But I know. So what is the proposal then, Robin? What is the?
The proposal would, well, I guess the part that Andy, I heard you express that you're willing to consider 3 floating units on Webster and 4 on Phoebe and Lincoln.
Correct.
So if the rest of the committee is also in favor of that, then we would be looking at 131 units being project-based for NeighborWorks.
And then, are we gonna be looking at Noel Halverson's additional then? That'll be going
That
to
we could-
legal?
In the future.
Yes,
Yep,
that we
coming
could
back to
bring
us.
back to you,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. All right.
And ecumenical partnerships, is that part of this same motion, or does that need to be separate?
I don't know that it matters for my purposes. It might just be a little cleaner if we make 2 different motions.
I would think so too.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the committee? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Absolutely.
And the motion
We
is?
That we agree to provide NeighborWorks with 131 project-based vouchers.
Okay.
And the additional 35 would come back to us after you talk to council.
After council.
That would be a separate motion.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Oh, so then we just ignore those for now.
I think so.
Excellent. Ignore them, I love that.
Okay.
Keep it clean.
Motion by Goddard,
Second.
and a second by Fenner. Under discussion. Any other concerns or, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, and then we have to do a separate one for the EPH,
okay.
and they're only asking for 12?
Correct.
Now, is that 12 additional?
No, it's how many
They
they
don't
have
have-
existing now,
Okay.
Okay.
because they don't have some yet, right?
Right, they don't have any.
So they don't have any. I thought they have 4.
I'm sorry, they don't have any project-based right now.
Right, but they have 4 that they could use right now.
Four properties that they are
Correct.
requesting to put project-based vouchers on now.
So we'd want to do the same thing that we did with NeighborWorks, right, and approve the 4?
Approve the
And then
4.
have, they can come back then for the additional ones outside of the city, correct?
Okay, and these are additional?
These are, they can't, they put forth, their RFP said 12 units. But what we're going to do is we're going to approve 4 now that they already,
They own the property.
They
that
already
they,
own the
that they own,
properties.
but the property is here in Green Bay.
They are, I believe so.
It's a combination. Some are in Green Bay, some are outside.
4 of the 4 properties?
Of the 4,
Correct.
of the 4, not, they're not all 4 in Green Bay.
No.
Ah, okay.
Where are they?
That's in your packet as well.
Okay.
So it's
Oh.
the,
Here, on
Yes.
this tape sheet, whatever the sheet is, attachment B.
so there's one on Corlier,
Okay.
one on Winford, one on Stewart, and one on Marquette.
You're built for each
Okay, they
Those
are.
are all
I was
4 in
thinking of
Green
the
Bay.
one with, on Woodview, which is an Alloway, but that one currently is a tenant-based. So,
Okay.
yes, I'm
Yep,
sorry.
so all 4 of them
They
are
all
in Green
So
Bay.
all 4 are in Green Bay.
Correct.
But the others, the other
Okay.
8 would come back to us. Ah, okay.
Correct, they don't own them yet.
Okay, they don't own them, so they can't, okay, I get it now.
Okay.
All right.
Do we have a motion?
Okay, so I would move that we accept the
Partnership.
Partnership for Housing, request for 4 project-based vouchers. Is that
There's a
right?
Motion by Hartman,
Second.
second by Goddard. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. Okay, moving
Oh,
forward.
very good.
Number 4, consideration of possible action to extend Neighborhood Works Green Bay's existing project-based voucher contracts if not awarded in the above agenda.
That's a moot point.
So,
Moot.
This
That's
one.
all right, motion to receive and place on file by Goddard, second by Hartman. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. 5, consideration of possible action on approval of changes of Chapter 17 project-based vouchers of the Administrative Plan Director Hallett.
So, Chapter 17 is the chapter of the administrative plan that governs the project-based vouchers, and currently, well, HUD allows housing authorities to establish a separate waiting list for projects that are project-based if there are different or specific residency criteria for the tenants who would live there. So with Ecumenical Partnership for Housing, they serve families who are homeless and exiting shelters or transitional housing. So they would like that they would like to have a separate waiting list specifically for clients who are homeless, exiting shelter, exiting transitional housing, to be in these 4 units or future other project-based vouchers. So we are proposing an addendum, an amendment to the, to Chapter 17 to allow for that.
Okay, so that's this red, the red?
Yes.
So you want to just add the red stuff in?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to support that. When we passed the 4, now there's going to be a change to it. Yeah, I would rather just keep everything the same. That's my opinion.
How does that affect them?
It affects their mission because their mission is specifically to work with homeless families and help them move out of homelessness. That was in their proposal. That was made very clear in their proposal. I just didn't want to complicate it by trying to explain that as part of the earlier agenda item. I saw this as a separate item that affects our, the day-to-day administration of the program by allowing a separate waiting list. Otherwise, we would have families you know, all families who are applying for project-based vouchers would also be applying for the EPH's units. Some of those, majority of those families would not necessarily be homeless or in other words, fitting the mission of who EPH serves.
So you're actually asking for us to give them the ability to have a separate waiting list that is not open to everybody else?
Just within the project-based vouchers, yeah. Which we currently do that for Veterans Manor. So Veterans Manor is, they have a residency criteria that is specifically for veterans. This would be very similar to that, except instead of veterans, it would be homeless families exiting shelter or transitional
And
housing.
Veterans Manor, that is still run by us?
Cardinal Capital.
By Cardinal Capital. And so this is part of their, so this was, when they did their RFP, they asked if they could have a separate waiting list for veterans?
Correct.
Okay. And so the Ecumenical Partnership for Housing, they did ask to have a separate waiting list in the RFP,
Yes.
but we didn't hear about it.
Robin said she didn't want to complicate it,
Okay. So basically,
but I think that would have been a very important bullet point to address what we were,
okay, so
just
if,
more information, Robin, that's all.
okay, so if we've approved the four units for the Ecumenical Partnership for Housing, did that mean that we also approved them having a separate waiting list for homeless families?
Not necessarily, no.
With this change, then it would make a waiting list with this administrative change, or this change of the.
Yeah,
It would be the list of homeless families.
Of Chapter 17,
Right.
administrative plan.
Yeah.
So
but
under
it's not a
chap-
special list, it's not a super secret list, it's homeless families that are served by that particular program. The veterans have a list of veterans served by that particular program. I think that's all that's being asked for.
Right, I understand, I'm just
Okay.
not going to support it. I
Okay,
don't agree with
but-
it.
So, but that means that if you can't live at Veterans Manor if you aren't a veteran. And
Right.
that's,
That's what I understand.
I think with both of them, if they had no other applicants, then they would accept people outside of those that are in their residency criteria. So if Veterans Manor had no veterans applying, but they had other individuals from the community, non-veterans applying, then they would accept them. Same thing for Ecumenical Partnership for Housing. They've already told me, I think that was in their proposal, that if they have no homeless families exiting shelter or transitional that are applying, then they would accept other families.
I guess I was under the impression that if it was for veterans, it would have been veterans only. But they were the first, they are the first, okay,
It is unless they don't have a waiting list, then they can
Alright.
open it up, so it doesn't sit vacant, but
okay.
I think they've been, do they have a waiting list, do you know?
Yes,
I think they do, so it is veterans.
okay.
Well, this isn't something I was intentionally withholding. I mean, ask anybody on the selection committee. They made, Ecumenical Partnership for Housing made it clear in their proposal that their mission is to serve homeless families,
Right.
and that's who they.
I was just asking Robin if you could have just pointed it out, it's a major bullet point.
Okay.
Because we have full-time jobs, you're working on this quite a bit, that's your job. I mean,
Okay,
we
I
overlook a lot of
apologize.
things, you know, we're volunteers, I mean, we need as much information as possible because we forget.
Okay,
Yes.
That's
I
all.
apologize, but I guess,
Oh, that's
I mean,
fine.
these are the proposals. That's why we select selection committee members,
Okay.
is so that each
Well,
person
did I
doesn't.
see that proposal?
No, because you were not on the selection committee.
I know, well, that's kind of, as a chairman, it would have been nice that if you could have just briefed me on just the gist of it.
Well, that's what I did at the beginning of this agenda item.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, so if we don't approve this, does that mean that they're going to, that their mission is going to suffer? Or that they're going to get gamed, is that the idea? By people that aren't exiting homeless shelters, but find out that they've got a
Well,
project.
we could choose veterans also, and they could,
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I don't know what would happen. I'd have to sit down and talk with Mr. Petenkohl and, determine how it would be addressed.
Well, maybe I could be involved and I could address it with the gentleman.
I was just gonna point out, unfortunately, he left.
You
Oh,
left,
okay.
yeah.
And, you know,
I
I don't
couldn't
know
see
that
that.
your approval of the vouchers, I'm sure there's families in those units right now. I don't know that the change to this policy is gonna be necessary today. Maybe you just table it until you have a chance to have it back here and talk about
Well,
it.
that would be nice. I thought he was still there because.
Yeah, he
Tom
ducked
was
after,
right there,
he
I
ducked
couldn't
after
see
number
him
3.
before.
I
Yeah,
don't
well,
know if
Tom
you
needs
realize
to
it's on their
talk.
agenda
He's too
for it.
tall.
Oh, that's fine. Thanks, Noel.
Yeah, yeah, I would.
So we can do that.
Can we
I
hold
mean, we
that
can
till
I
table
would
it.
be, I would
Discuss it
feel more
later.
comfortable, yeah, because I don't want to wreck their mission. But I don't want to have,
Would be good to clarify.
Well, let's
I
hold
need
until
some-
next meeting, I guess. That would be
Yeah.
my suggestion, so we can move the meeting forward.
thank you, okay. Okay,
I'll accept the motion
so.
to that effect.
I move that we, is this item number 5 then?
Yes.
I would propose that item number 5 be moved to our next meeting.
Okay, motion to hold by Ann Hartman to our next meeting in January. I believe January 15th, correct?
Mhm.
Yep. Do I hear a second? I'll second it. Under discussion?
Okay.
Okay, floor is open to the committee. This is Tom.
I don't think that us approving this is going to hurt anything. I really want to see homeless people get priorities. So I guess I really support this idea.
Well, don't
That
homeless
they can-
people have priorities in the housing base, in the voucher program? Aren't homeless people true?
Let's just focus on homeless families. We don't have lots of options in the city for homeless families. So this is again, I acknowledge I've worked with the group before, so take that into account. We don't have a lot of options for homeless families in transition. And so this is a group of churches willing to do that work that we are not doing. So my sense is that we should get out of their way. And if there are other organizations doing work that we will not do, that are going to serve the community, we should get out of their way. So I don't think this is going to mess anything up.
I disagree. I'm an alderman, and to get out of someone's way, I mean, that's not a good idea. That is really not a good idea.
Then the city should step up and do what needs to be done. If things are not being done,
Today we
somebody needs to
have,
do it.
we allowed St. John's to have a homeless shelter. I mean, the city has, we have. I mean, I don't know about other communities.
But
I
for
mean,
homeless families,
One second. I haven't seen any, I really haven't seen many communities in Brown County except for Green Bay has taken leadership. They really have. So
But
I
the-
disagree with that statement.
well, I believe that, but again, there are not
talking about-
adequate services for homeless families in our community.
St.
We,
John's
as
doesn't
a
take
community,
that.
could be doing more than we're doing, and we're not. This is an organization offering to do it.
So I guess I don't understand, why do we have to add this? I guess I'm still trying to figure out why.
The only people they'll take are people who meet that criteria. Anybody else who applies
Yeah.
is not eligible.
So
For this
then-
program, right, they're eligible for
Right.
the other thing.
Correct.
Right, so why do we need to have a separate thing here? I mean, in other words,
Because if you don't, the next voucher person on the list has to go into their unit.
Exactly.
And I think part of their fundraising that they do for local parishes and stuff is for that specific mission that they do. I know speaking,
1 second, can we just raise our hand, please? Bill?
all right, I know speaking, because they were just in my particular parish, that their specific mission, where they solicit the funds and market those funds is because of that mission. So I think that's probably why the importance of behind that.
I understand.
I'm going to support this.
Okay, thank you. All right, any more discussion? If not, let's take a vote. Aye,
I,
nays?
Nay.
Motion was denied.
mhm.
I'll entertain another motion.
I make a motion that we accept the proposed change to Article 17 regarding ecumenical partnership and housing.
I would second that.
Okay, as chairman, I'm not going to recognize that. I still believe, as an officer of the city, we should talk to that gentleman.
Are you in
more
your
in-depth.
capacity as an officer for the city on the Brown County Board? I just don't know the technicalities.
As a
of it.
city right now, technicality, I don't know if there is a technicality because
Okay.
it's separate.
Okay.
But as a city, I'm there to protect the city, and I need answers. I wish he wouldn't have left because I was unaware of this. I guess stipulation, we had to change the administrative plan to accommodate what we just passed. I was unaware of that.
If I could interject,
Yeah.
you had the agenda on Friday.
I know.
So it was on the agenda.
I know. I overlooked it.
And he did inform
But
me
I
that
wish he
he
would
had
have
to
pointed
leave
it out
early, and I apologize that I
10
didn't
minutes
share
ago.
that detail with you
So,
either.
I am not going to entertain that motion as chairman. I'm not going to accept it.
I don't think you have that authority.
I do. I've done it before.
I don't think you have
do.
that authority as an alderman to do that. You just put forward that you're an alderman of the city of Green Bay, and I
I
don't
am.
believe you have the authority to use that at a Green Bay, or excuse me, a Brown County Authority Commission. You can try that, but I don't think that's in order for you to use your aldermanic position to stop a motion by Tom here. I think that's out of order.
Okay. Point well taken.
Okay, so if he doesn't want to recognize it, can the vice chair, or is that not allowed?
No, what happens if I don't, I'll do not accept the motion?
So
It
now you're doing
basically-
this as the chair of the
It
county?
basically goes back on the agenda next month or next meeting or a special meeting. It's Robert Rules of Order.
But I'm saying, how are you able to not recognize Tom's motion?
Because I'm the chairman of the Brown County Housing Authority.
I see that, but how are you able to do it? His motion is in order.
Robert
isn't it?
Rules of Order.
Why can't he put a motion forward? Why
Because
are you-
the
what-
chairman
what
is not
stipula- What are you
accepting it.
He can
using?
put the motion forward, he's just not recognizing.
But why are you not recognizing?
Because we need more information. I want to talk to that gentleman.
The
from
three
that-
of us have already stated that we are for this motion.
I know that.
And I don't know why your stipulation would hold it up. I mean, because you didn't read this or didn't do something with it, shouldn't be a reason for the rest of us here not to be able to vote on a motion.
The reason, because I want to ask that gentleman that was here from the center to ask more questions.
1, 2, 3.
Right, we didn't take a vote yet, so I'm not going to
Well-
entertain the motion, and we're going to move forward. It's going to be on the next agenda. Okay?
I'm gonna state an objection to that.
Okay. Objected, well noted. Moving forward, we are at number 6, consideration of possible action regarding BCHA joining the redevelopment authority of the city of Green Bay and other interested housing authorities in Brown County to conduct a countywide affirmatively furthering fair housing assessment. Director Hallett.
Okay, as the cover sheet in your agenda explains, affirmatively furthering fair housing is a process by which all federal agencies and grantees needs to complete basically to make sure that we are doing all we can to promote fair housing in our community. So housing authorities are required to complete this activity. There has been some discussion at the HUD federal level about, the possibility of exempting housing authorities from it, because it could be a costly and time-consuming activity, but that has not yet been decided. But as far as other federal agencies, specifically the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Green Bay is required to do this affirmatively furthering fair housing, and it's in their best interest and possibly our best interest as a housing authority to join forces and work on this process together. So basically, I'm bringing this to you for your approval to join this consortium. And basically, what we're looking to do as a consortium would be to put out an RFP requesting qualified contractors to submit a proposal to conduct this AFFH process. The biggest thing at stake here is the dollar amount. We don't know what that dollar amount would be yet because we haven't put out that RFP. But we're anticipating that all of the partners in this consortium would share the cost of that in order to complete the RFP complete the AFFH for the entire county.
Robin, who's all the partners?
At this point, it's redevelopment authority for the city, and we're looking for the BCHA to be a partner. We're going to propose that the GBHA be a partner as well. The De Pere Housing Authority is considering it.
Do you know why Pulaski opted to pull out?
You're right, Dan, they did opt to pull out.
Do you know why?
You know
They
why?
don't want to be part of it because they don't have the money to pay for it. So essentially, they're gonna, to use the words of the director's gonna muddle her way through it and try to do it on her own.
Okay. So,
I've asked NewCap and WEDA if they want to be part of it as well, and I haven't yet gotten responses from them.
okay. Entertain a motion to approve, or is there questions or
Do you have
concerns?
any idea of the cost?
Well, we did find out that Sheboygan County did the RFP. They got 2 proposals back, ranging, I believe, from $32,000 to $45,000. So if we just kind of round that up and guess that maybe Brown County might be $60,000, and then divide it among the different partners in the consortium, we're guessing maybe around $20,000 is what it might cost the BCHA.
I mean, there's a value to it, correct?
Definitely.
Okay. All
And
right.
it's a legal requirement that we
Big
do it,
value
right?
to it.
That it gets done.
Yes.
No, that would be tough to argue that. Okay, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion to approve,
Second.
second by Dietrich.
Okay, and we have to have.
Motion by Goddard, second by Dietrich. Under discussion, Ann Hartman.
Okay, so we have until May of 2019 to complete this? Is that the idea?
That's when the redevelopment authority has to have theirs completed. I don't know, I know with HUD, they've been saying 2019 is when housing authorities would have to complete it, but I don't know exactly when in 2019. And there's still that issue of, there's some discussion at the federal level about possibly exempting housing authorities from it, but we don't know. The guidance from our local HUD office has been to keep moving forward with the assumption that it will be required.
Okay. Stephanie?
And for what I understand, with talking with Krista Cisneros, she's the one that does this for the redevelopment authority. There are very
Okay.
few companies that do this, so the longer we wait, the more expensive it could be,
Right.
and the harder it could be to get this done. So
Good.
that's why we're moving early with it.
Point well taken. All right, we're still under discussion, if not. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Moving forward. We're at 7, consideration of possible action of BCHA budget and resolution 17-03.
So last month, we brought the budget for your approval, and some additional information was requested, so we are bringing that information back. You will see the page following the cover sheet is a summary of all the changes in the budget, so I would be happy to walk through this with you, and then we can take any additional questions that you might have. So for the Housing Choice Voucher Program portion of the budget, 2 significant changes to the income section are, first of all, the HAP income. So that is estimated at $1,449,192, which is a 98%, or it's at a 98% proration, plus $1,226,963, which is the amount held in HUD-held reserves. So that's the change that we're anticipating from 17 to 18. And then the interest that you would see in the income is due to the new banking product that we talked to you about a few months ago with that interest rate. The significant expenses, or significant changes to expenses, administrative salaries. So we talked about this a bit last time, and there is another sheet attached that has this. Let me find it for you. Yeah, so after the pages that have the columns that are the budget itself, we have a page that says salaries at the top. So this shows you all the salaries, the positions of the Brown County Housing Authority staff. The second column shows what that position's wages are. The next column shows the percentage of their wages that are specifically for BCHA. And then the last column is what that equates to, what that dollar amount to the BCHA would be. So it's 5% for the executive director. Myself, as housing administrator, I track my actual time based, budgeted towards BCHA items, and for the last year, that equated to 39%. The accountant equated to 28%. Our administrative clerk, 12.5%. And then the last item is housing coordinator, and you'll see the asterisk explaining that we're looking to reclassify the intern to a housing coordinator, so that would provide more stability to the position. And that, that position would be about 25 hours. I'm sorry, it's 25 hours a week, but half of that would be for BCHA. The other half would be for GBHA.
Wait, so that means that the,
Brown County agreement.
so BCHA would get 12 and a half hours a week, and then GBCHA would get 12 and a half hours.
Right.
Okay, so it's still 25 hours per week total.
Yes.
I got it, okay, all right, got it.
So that is the breakdown of the salary, the amount of salary and budget.
Any questions or concerns from the committee? Just quick question, Robin, you last part of the salaries, like BCHA portion, like 4,000, we'll take administrative clerk. So the BCHA pays 48,3194 towards that 38,655.
Correct.
Then who pays the rest of it then?
I believe the RDA has the other portion of that, and the GBHA also pays a portion of that.
Okay. Just like the accountant, the housing administrator, and executive director?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I was just curious. Okay, any other questions or concerns from the committee? If not, entertain a motion. Oh, Stephanie, could you go over those questions? And basically, if you could.
Yep.
I was gonna say, does anybody have any questions on the questions I provided to staff?
Okay.
Okay, if you could just go over them
You just
for the
want me to
record,
read-
please.
read it? Okay. We received some questions. The first question was on our computer support, which is line 4190.00, why the $7.5 million change? The budget for the computer support remained the same from $7,500 in 2017 to 2018. So there was no increase for that, and what that covers is the chargebacks from the city IT department for our use of their services and any equipment that we would need to purchase, which they usually help us with.
Okay.
That's a typo. So
I think, yeah, I think the M was a typo.
Well, that's what he, on Mr. Nicholson's
Yeah.
handwritten note, he may have made.
We're assuming you meant the 7,500.
No, you're right. Yeah, that's 70, that's.
Right.
and
You meant
it's
K instead of
4,000.
M?
Right.
Well, true.
Piece of great technology.
The other, yeah, 3, 4, and 5 is it, any questions on that? If not, if you could just explain 2, because 3, 4, and 5, that's
Okay,
pretty.
and then tenant protection vouchers, which are line 4713. Why are we projecting that, and what is the change in the dollar value? I cannot explain what that is. I'm going to guess that ICS probably has a better understanding on what tenant protection vouchers are, or Robin can also
Yeah.
on that.
So, Yeah, the tenant protection vouchers are special vouchers that HUD gives to housing authorities to ensure that there's no displacement of low-income residents as a result of various action resulting in loss of subsidy assistance. The BCHA received these tenant-based vouchers when Core Plaza Tower tenants who were previously assisted under a separate non-housing authority affordable housing program were relocated to Woodland Park and Trail Creek Apartments, which were provided BCHA project-based vouchers. So the tenant protection vouchers were provided to the BCHA to compensate for the vouchers that were taken out of our regular pool in order to project base at the newly constructed units. So there's no change in the dollar value from 2017 to 2018 budgeted amount. The estimated 2017 actual number had been left blank in the budget because BCHA staff did not know what the estimated actual amount from 2017 was when we prepared the budget.
Thanks, Robin. I thought those were important questions. Thank you for answering them.
Thank you for submitting those, and we would encourage any, all commissioners to do so.
Any questions or concerns? If not, entertain a motion to approve by, yes,
And resolution 17-03.
correct? You have motion to approve
So moved.
by Hartman, second by
Second.
Fenner. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 8, consideration possible action to accept the BCHA bills.
Those were handed out at your spot. We do have a couple of things. We did have some NeighborWorks ones did come in, which is part of the down payment closing cost loans that you had previously approved. That's the $150,000. So we did have some of those come in. We have some legal fees. I went with that training, so nothing major.
Nothing out of the unusual. Okay, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Corday, second by
Second.
Dietrich. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 9, consideration of possible action to accept the acceptance of BCHA financial report. Stephanie, is there anything that?
No,
is that
nothing out of the
unusual?
ordinary,
Okay.
and you will see this come back again because with year-end wrap-up, it comes back
Okay.
a couple more times.
Okay.
All right. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Hartman, second by
Second.
Dietrich. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. The schedule is set for next month. Anybody have a problem with it?
15th, no.
Or an issue or a concern? If not?
I just want to point out, there were 2 months that we changed the meeting. Instead of being on the 3rd Monday of each month, we pushed it back to the following Monday because of staff conflicts.
What months?
Those would be in April and September.
Okay, thank you.
So please note your personal calendar.
Note well taken. Motion to adjourn
So moved.
by Dietrich, second by Benner. Under discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Happy holidays, guys.
Yep, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry
Resolution for, which one?
Sorry, this is Dave. Dave is a
Oh,
board
the budget
member
one, got it.
I just need a signature.
for ICS.
John,
You need me, Robin?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yep. But won't take much of your time. Thank you.
I'll let you know.
Wait, miss one.
Stuff in your bag?
I've got it all on my computer. I just have the fact right on my computer.
Okay.
Yeah, shorter last meeting.
Catch Munter sometime.
You beat me on that.
Oh, hey, there's always a longer one.
I know.
Usually we had a 16-letter
Yeah,
last name. I'm
DeShines,
like,
I
that
had a
is
friend that was
just.
like, her name was like DeShines. It was like Christine DeShines.
I knew a John Van Langenberg.
Van der Langenberg, there you go.
And
Makes sense.
Yeah, on those 35,
Yes?
you know, the trick with that, though, is if if we're looking to get a property and fix it up and then have to go through approval process after to get, say, the vouchers, which may be necessary for the structure and the deal, that we lose the property.
And Merry Christmas.
So if we can resolve that,
Merry Christmas.
then we can start shopping for Merry Christmas.
Thank you, you too.
Okay.
Do you have a second?
That would really be an inducement for us, I think, to look for
John,
some
Merry Christmas.
low-income projects outside of the city.
Perfect.
And I know you want that, we want that.
I do, yeah. I mean, I just feel it's a